My worth is my birthright.
My worth is my birthright.
I am worthy.
Born worthy.
My value is not determined by material things.
My value is not determined by material things.
Because I am worthy.
Born worthy.
Welcome to the Born Worthy podcast, a space dedicated to having critical, honest, and loving conversations about our world, about society, about my lived experiences, navigating across multiple spectrums of my career, and about our children. I'm your host, Ayana, aka Ayana the Blueprint. I'm also the founder of the Timbuktu Academy and Born Worthy, and I represent the second generation of a family of educators that is running a independent institution. I have 11 years experience in law enforcement with the Trenton Police Department, and I was in a juvenile unit. And so that experience truly shaped my worldview, my philosophy and ideologies on a lot of different things: education, community, safety, systems across many different domains, and supported me in shaping the work that I do today with girls. Today, I come to you not just as an advocate, but as someone who has witnessed the consequences of the issues that we're going to talk about today firsthand. I've seen enough of it. I've seen the aftermath of the pain that we're discussing today up close and personal. I've seen how it has destroyed is destroying families. I've seen how it is destroying our girls, how it contributes to the demise of our girls, the mental health of our girls, the well-being of our girls, how our girls view themselves, their worth, their value, and the devastating consequences when the erasure of childhood goes untreated. And again, this background of mine spans across education and social services and law enforcement at various levels of supervision, various levels of accountability or lack thereof. And it gives me a unique perspective on the shifts and the changes that we need to see across many different systems, including our own and our families. And so this podcast is allowing me an opportunity where I can share, and also where we can turn the knowledge that I have and my lived experiences into powerful discussions, and hopefully we can get some solution. And so welcome to the first episode. Today we're going to talk about something that, again, is painful, but is something crucial and something that is often unseen, and that's the erasure of childhood or girlhood. And I want to start with this question I had. I was talking to a friend, and we talk about this all the time, and we literally just had an entire exhibition centered around this. And the question is, when did we as a collective decide that our black girls don't need a childhood? Why are they waking up and they're going from 3 to 35 in a day? And this is the reality for many black and brown girls. Their developmental stage, that protected innocent period, that innocence, that period of learning, the period of their vulnerability, it is constantly under attack. And the attack, I believe, it comes from many different directions, but the two that I'm talking about today is adultification bias and parentification. And adultification bias is this external, racially charged lens through which society, teachers, police, systems, community, family view black girls as less innocent, less deserving of protection, more aggressive, more sexual, and more culpable than their white peers. And it starts as young as the age of 5. And the data is there, the research is there. You all can Google it, ask chat, it will all pop up. The bias contributes to a lot of things, right? So, but the main one that we often hear talk about is the discipline and the injustice that Black girls experience, and the lack of empathy that Black girls experience in the justice system. Parentification is the internal family dynamics that we see happening within our family structures, and this is when the girls are forced to take on the adult roles within the structure of our families. They become the caregiver to their siblings. They take on the burden of the parents' emotional as an emotional confidant, or they're managing the household bills, right? They're making their doctor's appointments. They're doing all of these things that we would think parents would do, but because sometimes parents are not able to do that, it is just the expectation that the girl is going to be is the second in line. And these roles that these girls are taking on, it really strips away at their childhood functionality. They don't have the opportunity to sit and develop. Their little brains just don't have that opportunity to sit and develop in their girlhood, in their childhood. And while adultification and parentification, sometimes we blend them together, or we confuse one with the other, but they're different, but yet they're tragically connected to one another, and the effects of them are really, really hurting our girls. Many times people will treat the adultification and the parentification as two separate issues, but for Black girls, and in my opinion, I feel like the parentification is the training ground for the external expectations of the adultification bias. And these two concepts, they reinforce one another, unfortunately. So when we think of a girl who is being parentified at home, she learns that her survival and her family's depend on her being competent, being responsible, and being emotionally contained. In such, she is being conditioned to suppress her own needs, to function or take on the role of a caregiver. And she begins to develop this high level of endurance and capabilities. So now the same girl, she steps outside and she encounters adultification bias in school, in the community, at her job if she's working. And an adult treats her with less patience. I've seen it. Expects her to know better. I see it every day. Or she's harshly disciplined for a minor mistake. I've seen that. Especially I've seen the harsh discipline for her for making a minor mistake throughout my time within my period of working with the department. How intentional they would be about calling to get the girls violated for whatever. Most of half of the time it was nothing, that they didn't do anything, but they intentionally were harder on them, I believe, for asinine things. It was almost like they got a high off of seeing them getting in trouble. So back to the thing at hand. So now, because this girl is being treated like an adult at home, when she goes outside and she's experiencing the adultification bias, she's not recognizing it as a racial injustice. Instead, she begins to interpret the behavior as a personal failure of her own, like she wasn't strong enough, right? She wasn't strong enough to handle whatever someone was inflicting upon her. She's not even able to recognize it. she begins to think, and I work with girls every day. She begins to think, I failed, I should have done better, I could have done more, I should have been able to take on that challenge, that hurt, that pain, because that's what I do, that's what I've been conditioned to do. And she blames herself, not on the system or for her being mistreated, but she's blaming herself. And what about the girl who, so we like to say, well, that's not all black girls. All black girls don't have to deal with the parentification. Okay, well, what about the girl that's not parentified? She still experiences this bias by way of her gender and race. Why can't she recognize it, right? Why is she having a difficult time being able to articulate or say, I'm experiencing this bias? Well, because everywhere she turns around, the expectation of her being this superwoman is all over the place. So she's witnessed her mother, even in a balanced home, being hyper independent. She or her aunts and other black women that we see in the media being embodied as this strong black woman, and we can just endure everything, being overworked, being overlooked, and having to constantly be excellent and go the extra mile just to get by or to get the bare minimum, and still being treated unfairly. So she's internalizing all of these implicit lessons. She knows she belongs to this group of people. So she then begins to think, I can endure more. I should be expecting more. I should be equipped to take on more. When she is met with the injustice, or met with the harshness, or met with the mistreatment, she's not able to recognize this, because that is the expectation of what being a black woman has been. And then begins to validate her need to be even more resilient. And it's a vicious cycle. And I'm speaking from experience. I'm speaking from experience, one, as a black woman, and two, as a black woman whose work is primarily centered around and for black and brown girls. The external bias expects her to be a strong adult. And then the internal, whether through parentification or observation, trains her up to live in it with the most impossible standard, and is wreaking havoc in our communities, and is wreaking havoc with how our girls view themselves and their mental health. Parentification gives our girls a very heavy emotional shield that she must carry at all times. Adultification bias sees that shield and doubles the weight. And when the girl falls, she blames herself for not being strong enough to hold all of it. So I'll give you an example of something that I recently came across. The news covered this story. 16-year-old black girl in Detroit, Michigan. 16-year-old girl hid her entire pregnancy from her mom. She delivered the baby by herself in the bathroom. She looked up on TikTok how to cut the umbilical cord. She took the baby and wrapped the baby up, put the baby on the porch, told her mother that somebody dropped the baby off and left the baby on the porch. Mom was thinking to herself, well, this doesn't sound right. Why would they just randomly leave a baby on our porch? Of all porches, why would they pick our porch? And when she finally confessed to her mom that the baby was actually hers, the reason for her hiding her pregnancy was that she did not want to tell her mom, because her mom already has so much other stuff going on. And she did not want to be a burden. Her exact words. She did not want to be a burden to her mother. So this is what I'm talking about. She prioritized her mother's peace and her mother's stability over her own health. Her own health and a baby's survival. This girl had a whole baby growing inside of her. Delivered a whole human by herself, alone in a bathroom, because she felt more responsibility to protect her mother when she was the one that needed the protection and nurturing during this time of her pregnancy. Whether her mother was going to be upset or not, the fact that she thought that she could handle it all on her own, this is what I'm talking about. This is a picture perfect example of a crisis situation. And it shows exactly how parentification trains the girl to think she herself as disposable, and how adultification bias tells her that she's strong enough to handle the entire birth by herself. And her mom's reaction of why her daughter did this was just so shocking to her. It brought her to tears. But if we're not paying attention to our behaviors and our actions and just how we don't tend to the needs of our daughters and our girls, this is what they're going to do. This is one example. I saw one of a 12-year-old. When do they get a break? When do they get a break? When are our girls given the freedom to just be little girls? And I know that this is not intentional. I know a lot of it is not intentional in our families. It's just what has to be done, because without it, we're going to crumble. We're not going to make it. I need you to step up. I need you to do these things. And a lot of our girls, you don't even have to tell them. They're just going to do it. They're just going to do it. It's almost innate. And they feel that that's what they're supposed to be doing. And a lot of times, again, this is my work. This is my work. A lot of times when it's time for the girls to stand up for themselves, speak up for themselves, say if they know something is bothering them, even if it's the smallest thing, they're not going to say anything. They would rather just let it happen. They would rather sit in pain. For example, if she has cramps, she would rather just sit there and crumble in pain, as opposed to saying, I don't feel well. Or I can't read the pages because I don't have my glasses. So instead of just saying, I don't have my glasses, she will just not say anything, which will turn into something else, because now you're being defiant and you're not cooperating in class, and it turns into something else. And now the teacher is saying something to her, and now she's saying something back. Now it's an argument, and boom, get out of my class anyway because I don't want you in here anyway. So now she's going out the classroom. She's suspended all because she didn't want to say, I left my glasses at home. I really can't read the pages. I can't see these words. I don't have my glasses. There is like a guilt for asking for help and for asking for things, because it is the expectation for her, through observation and through what she endures at home and within her family structure, even in our communities, that she should figure it out. She should know, and you should have your stuff. You don't need anything. And so how are we as a community supposed to, how can we try to fix this pain before our girls continue to drop off more and more and more? That we spend, I feel like we spend too much energy on external fixes to pacify what is actually happening, right? That looks like fashion. It looks like pushing them to the limit, putting them in leadership programs, standing them on the front line, shouting and fighting, and we can do it, we're all of those things. And the one thing that really takes it over the top for me that I've been recognizing lately is the surface level affirmations. We focus on making the girls look good while we're ignoring that inside she is crumbling. She is crying. She is confused. She is depressed. She is conflicted. And she's trying to figure herself out in a society that is actively saying to her, you're not worthy of anything. No. You're not even worthy of me switching and moving things around so that you can participate in the basketball team after school. You can't do that. You're not even worthy of me trying to figure things out. These small little nuances do this to our girls. And back to the hypocrisy of the affirmations, affirming the girls and then simultaneously treating them like trash is a form of violence. Dismissing them is a form of violence. You cannot speak life into someone and then turn around and speak down to them, dismiss their pain, dismiss them, or force her to miss out on things that are necessary for her growth and her success. The minute you treat her less than or like she's an afterthought or unworthy, that affirmation and those affirmations that you put on the mirror and on the note card, all that stuff goes out the window. She's not believing that. The brain is not processing things in that way. She's paying attention to how you treat her and the decisions that you make about her. We cannot affirm the emotional manipulation out of our girls, the exhaustion that she's experiencing out of her, or the effects, the aftermath of the parentification and the adultification. We can't affirm that out of her. There's not enough I ams in the world. If the behavior on how we treat her does not match it, or how we speak to her or how we refer to her, it does not match it. And that's across a lot of boards. That's in schools, that's in girls programs, that's in the community, that's within our families, how we talk to our girls, how we speak to them. And then you turn around and say, I am this, I am loved, but you're not treating me like love. I am worthy, but you're talking to me like somebody you don't even like outside and on the street. We cannot do this. And again, I work with all girls, and so I feel and I see the effects, so much so where they feel like you don't even like them. Do we even like black girls? Because the way that these systems, and again, some of us, how we treat them does not suggest that we like black girls. They're children. And this is why it's important, and this is why we need more than a Band-Aid, than a I am, than pictures. We need the root work done. And education is the key to all of this. And it's not just academics or making honor roll or mastering that form of education. It is the conscious education that allows our girls and us as women to heal and recognize the forces acting upon us. That is my work mission. That is the mission within the Timbuktu Academy. Education is viewed as the nucleus and the blueprint for healing our people. Knowledge and wisdom is what we need to give our girls so that we can equip them with the power that they need to protect themselves. And this work starts as young. This development of consciousness starts with our girls as young as 3 years old. Baby, go have a seat. We're going to have a sit down, and we're going to all go within. We have to train them when they're little at that foundational level. It's not about a girls' club coming together and talk about our problems and victimization and what somebody didn't do for us. Yes, we discuss these things, but it's also about a healthy balance. It's about sharing. It's about growth. It's about sitting in the truth about us as a community and what we need to do to shift things and increase our level of consciousness so that we can make sure that our girls develop those shields that they need and the power so that they can stand themselves and stand up for themselves and be able to say, listen, I am worthy. I know what I deserve. And you are not going to treat me that way. It's not happening over here. We got to stop the trauma before it gets too deep. We know it's going to come. We know they're going to experience these things. I was a black girl. I'm a black woman. I know what they're going to endure. They don't understand what they're going to endure. So we have to give that wisdom so that they can recognize the bias and the strength to maneuver through life and resist that urge that we all have so often to internalize and blame ourselves. It's not your fault. So what we can do right now is just start with ourselves. Ask questions to yourself over and again before you provide those roles, before we give these roles to our girls, to our daughters. Just look at the roles that we're giving them within the homes, in the rearing of them. And it's not to say that they should not be helping out. They should. Contributing to the household, contributing to, it teaches responsibility, it teaches community, it gives them a way to contribute to the village. And for her to understand that she is a part of something bigger than herself. That is healthy. The difference is the consequence. Is she helping out with the chores and household tasks? Or is the collapse of the household, the emotional stability, the care for her younger siblings, the financial functioning, is that contingent on her actions? When the house crumbles or the system is totally disrupted, if she doesn't step up, that is the parentification. Ask herself, is she taking on the emotional pain and the burden of a parent, of me, as her parent? As children, when they see your pain and they feel like she could have done more, or that it's her fault when you struggle. And I hear this a lot from the girls. I should be helping my mom, or I should have this. If I would have did this, then this probably wouldn't have happened. You 10. Hello? You're 15. It's not your fault. And her having to endure that, it strips away from her emotional girlhood. It's the confusion and the lack of boundary is what makes her vulnerable to the manipulation by older men and by other people who seek to exploit and take advantage of her misplaced maturity. And I've seen this constantly. I've seen the girls go through so much, especially with the vulnerability of the manipulation by older men who say they're more mature, knowing good and well that she's 12 and 14, right? Or 15 or 16. You can tell that she's a little girl, but they push that you're more mature, and she's thinking I am more mature because this is what I'm hearing all the time at home. This is what I'm hearing when I go to spaces. They want me to be the one in the front. No. And here's another important thing that we have to check. If we don't constantly treat our girls the way they are supposed to be treated and speak to them with some dignity, the way they should be, the way they deserve to be spoken to inside the home, inside our families, how are they ever supposed to know if they are being mistreated when they step outside? Home and family should be a safeguard. I say should. We all know that that's always not the case. I'm just saying it should. But then again, it brings me back to, I say all the time, that's why we need spaces that are welcoming and understanding of the needs of black girls. This is something that needs to be considered in the spaces of black girls. And I'm very careful about the treatment of our girls, and even in my space, and the roles that they have and the things that we assign them to do. But that's another conversation for another day. We're going to stay on topic. We're going to talk about that leadership thing on another episode. We can't keep talking about empowering girls, and we hear it all the time. We have all these empowerment things for the girls and the girls' empowerment, if we haven't dealt with how we actually see our girls. I say it again, we have to ask these hard questions. Do I like black girls? Do I talk to them like I like them? Do I speak to them like I like them? Do I treat them like I like them? Do I have compassion for them? Do I think they deserve softness? Because our girls, they really deserve to grow. They deserve to be. They deserve to breathe. They deserve to fall down, scrape their knees, have somebody come put a Band-Aid on it. They deserve all of that nurturing. And affirmations alone can't do that. It comes with changed behavior from all of us. Secondly, something that we can do right now is give our daughters the language, our girls the language and the knowledge to recognize the adultification bias and be explicit about that. When such and such does this, this is racism. It's not your fault. You did not do anything wrong. You are being viewed through a damaged, biased lens. And then allowing her to have that freedom and that trust to come to us and be able to articulate that to us without having to feel like she's going to be viewed as not mature enough, or she can't handle things because she's coming and she's seeking assistance with a situation. I know for me and the work that I do, the goal is not to raise sufferers. We talk about this generational work all the time and breaking these curses. This is a really bad curse that we have to break within our families, within our communities, and how we treat our girls. This parentification, and like again, I know that some of it is not intentional, but be it intentional or not, it's happening, and the girls are catching the aftermath. And what I'm seeing is that it's getting worse each generation. They're becoming rebellious, more and more rebellious each generation. And you see it in their bodies. You see it in their body language. You see it in the way that they communicate with each other. You see it in how they talk to themselves and how they allow themselves to be treated. Our goal is not to raise strong sufferers. It's to raise conscious, self-defined, balanced girls. And the healing begins when we stop asking them to endure all of this stuff and start equipping them with the knowledge and those boundaries and the protective community that they need. And I'm here today to say that I'm proud that the Timbuktu has provided an essential space for our girls. They get loved, they get that knowledge, and it's an anchor, it's a lifeline for a lot of them. And I know that together as a community, we can come in unity and start doing things differently for the sake of our girls, because they are worthy of having a childhood, and they are worthy of experiencing the innocence and the softness and the vulnerability of girlhood. Yeah, that's it. I could go on and on, but I'm not. I just want to thank you all for joining me today for this foundational episode. This is the beginning of a lot of the crucial work that we're going to be doing together, and the conversations that I plan to bring over to the Born Worthy podcast. This is the first, but I do have episodes that are coming. I just ask that you join me and share. And if this conversation resonated with you, I urge you to share this episode. And more importantly, I invite you to learn more about the Timbuktu Academy, the immaculate work that we're doing for girls and young women. And I left all of the information in the description. And if you want to follow my personal journey, because I have my own personal goals and things and work that I'm doing outside of the Timbuktu Academy and Born Worthy, you can follow my journey. Connect with me on all of my social media platforms at Ayana the Blueprint. And make sure you subscribe to the Born Worthy podcast. This is where I'll be having my discussions. I hope to have some guests on the show. And I hope to bring some of the girls in to come and chat and share with you all some of the experiences that they've had with me and with the Timbuktu Academy. Let me know your thoughts on this episode in the comments below, and let's commit to protecting the childhoods of our Black girls.
I am loving.
I am loved.
I am loved.
I am loved.
I am loved.
Because I'm worthy.
Born worthy.
I am a priority.
I am a priority.
So I pledge to love myself today.
So I pledge to love myself today
and every day.
and every day.
Because I'm worthy.
Born worthy.